Good morning, everyone. Today we are here to discuss temple architecture. Our topic is temple architecture. So, now when it comes to this word, temple architecture, it is a combination of two words. One is temple, another is architecture. Architecture, we all know, is the art of building, and temple architecture is the art of building temple, a religious place. Now, in terms of history, when we talk about temple architecture, temple construction started way back in post Mauryan phase. It started in post Mauryan phase. However, the remains are not available to us. There are very few remains which are available to us when it comes to Mauryan phase. However, from the Gupta phase, or what we can say the Gupta age, the architectures or temple architecture of Gupta era was clearly evident. Or what we can say, we have found the temple remains from the Gupta age. The earliest one is found from Udaygiri, which is a place near Vidisha in modern day Madhya Pradesh. And similarly, we found another such remain from Sanchi, another place near Vidisha. So, earlier, the temple remains has been found from Udaygiri and Sanchi. Before that, we are having literary evidences that temple architecture started during this particular phase. Okay, so this is what some factual information about temple architecture in India, which started from post-Mauryan phase, and over the period of time it developed. And in the initial phase, in the very beginning when we started constructing a temple, it was just a four-pillared small complex which are housing a deity, a god, and a small mandap. So that was the earliest structure. Over the period of time, when we started developing this art, the temple has developed over a large complex. Big complexes has been developed of temples. So in that sense, what we can say, temple architecture grew over the period of time. And from a simple four-pillared structure, it developed into large complexes. Okay, so this is what about the initial phase of or the initial introduction of temple architecture in India. Now, briefly, we will discuss about some basic characteristics of every Hindu temple. So there are certain basic elements. There are certain basic elements of every single temple, and those elements are: number one is Garbh Grih, the first and foremost important element of a Hindu temple, a Garbh Grih. Garbh Grih is the place where the deity, the god resides, जहाँ भगवान होते हैं, जहाँ हम भगवान रखते हैं, that place is called as Garbhagriha. It is also called as Sanctum Sanctorum. Sanctum Sanctorum, a place which is very auspicious. Sanctum Sanctorum. Okay, so that is what the most important element, a small rectangular, sometimes square place where the main deity, where we worship the deity, remains. Second is a tower above the main Garbhagriha, which is called as Shikhar. Shikhar. You might have heard, let me draw it for you. This is what the main sanctum sanctorum or Garbhagriha. Above this sanctum sanctorum, you might have seen a leaning tower. In every single temple, you might have seen this. In some places, it is of different shape. Sometimes it is curvilinear, sometimes it is pyramidical. We'll go into this in detail of that. But above the sanctum sanctorum or Garbhagriha, there is a leaning tower. This particular tower is called as Shikhar. Clear? The leaning tower. Third point, which is there in every single Hindu temple, is Amlak. Amlak is a Amlak. It is a disc-like structure. It is a disc-like structure. A disc-like structure which is at the top of this shikhar. And above this shikhar, there is a kalash. Kalash lies like this. There is a kalash. And along with that kalash, sometimes a flag is also being placed on the amlak itself. So this is what we can say the crowning elements here. This is what we call crowning to decorate the temple, or it can be witnessed from a very far distance. We establish, set up a kalash and a tower there, a flag there. Clear? Now this is what lies above the main sanctum sanctorum. Now, above this, the fifth particular point or fifth main thing is the mandap. A mandap lies where you can sit, you can pray, or people worship the god from here. This is generally a pillared structure which is called as mandap. A mandap is a place where you can sit and worship the god. And then lies another place which is called as Jagati. So Jagati is the platform on which this temple is being constructed. Clear? So what we can say? This entire structure of a temple is being constructed on a elevated platform. And this particular elevated platform is called as Jagati, the raised platform. Getting it? So, this is what? The sixth element. After this, the seventh one. Seventh element is the Vahan. Vahan. You all know that in Hindu mythology, every single god is having his own vehicle or Vahan. Clear? So Vahan is placed just in front of the temple here, so that the main god, the deity, can be easily visible from this particular place. And sometimes there is a, sorry, sometimes there is a stambh as well. A tower is being also erected in this premises. So that is what the basic elements of every single Hindu temple. So let's revise this once again. Now, without any names, we'll discuss all those things. So, first, a basic Garbhagriha where the deity remains. Above this Garbhagriha, there is a shikhar, a leaning tower. Then above this shikhar there is Amlak. Above Amlak there is Kalash. Clear? Some along with this Kalash there is also a Dhwaja. In front of Garbhagriha there is a Mandap. Clear? And in front of Mandap there is Vahan or Stambh. Clear? And this entire structure is built on a raised platform. And this platform is called as Jagati. So now it is clear and there are steps connected to it so that people can go raise the steps and worship their god. So that is what the basic elements of every single temple which is being constructed in India. Clear? Now, when it comes to temple architecture in India, temple architecture can be divided into three categories. Or what we can say, temples in India are constructed in three different styles. And those three different styles are number one, Nagar style. Number two is the Dravidian style. And number three is the Vasar style. So three types of temple architecture are present in India. First is Nagar. This Nagar temple architecture is prominent, or what we can say, it is northern temple architecture, which is predominantly found in North India. Then there is Dravidian style. Dravidian style is mainly found in southern India. Clear? And this Vasar style will be the mixture of both, which have characteristic of both north and south, and this will be found in the Deccan region, also in Odisha. Clear? So that is what three broad characteristic or different styles of temple architecture in India. Clear? Now we'll look into details of every single of them. Right now, we have discussed all three of them in very brief over. Now we will discuss them in detail. So first, the Nagar style, or you can write it down in your notebook as well. The Nagar style of architecture. When it comes to Nagar style of architecture, as we have discussed, what happens in the Nagar style as well? There is a Garbhagriha. Above this Garbhagriha, there is a tower, which we called it Shikhar. Very good. Now this Shikhar is curved. It is a curvy linear Shikhar. Clear? It goes like this. It is not like a straight line. It is not like this. It curves gently towards the top. Clear? So that is what the curvy linear Shikhar. Above this Shikhar, there is Amlak, and above Amlak, there is Kalash. Clear? That is what we have seen. But what happens here? In the Garbhagriha, this Garbhagriha is Sometimes, or in some places, what we can say, this Garbhagriha houses a single deity, and sometimes this Garbhagriha houses a main deity, a main deity plus some subsidiary deity. एक मुख्य भगवान होंगे और साथ में कुछ accessories या फिर what we can say side god भी होंगे. For example, if you visit a Shiva temple, the main god is Shiva, but along with Shiva, there are certain other goddesses as well, like the consort of Shiva, Parvati is there, Ganesh is there, Kartikeya is there. So they are called as subsidiary deity. And when it comes to this subsidiary deity, temples are constructed in Panchayatan form. Panchayatan. Clear? Panchayatan means one main god plus four subsidiary god. That is what the question which is being asked by UPSC few years back in prelims examination. Clear? So that is what the main thing. Before, after this sanctum sanctorum, in some places there is a place or there is not the mandap immediately, there is a certain area which connects mandap and garbhagriha. This particular area is called as antaral. Antaral. In modern day architecture, we call it vestibule. Clear? In modern day construction technology, we call it vestibule, but at Hindu temple construction or architecture, we call it antaral. Clear? Before antaral, in front of antaral, there is a pillared hall, which we call as mandap. Clear? And above this mandap, there are steps, and here is the vahan in front of the deity. Clear? Now that is what the basic structure of a temple. Now, from the entrance, if we move towards the inside, the main deity remains, subsidiary deity is also there, but at the outer walls of the temple, there are few prominent features which you can witness. For example, at the entrance, you will see river goddesses. River goddesses. Mainly Ganga and Yamuna. So at the entrance, you will see river goddesses. After that, you will see Dwarpal at the entrance of at the gate of the temple. Dwarpal will also be there. And on the outer side of this tower, Shikhar, you will see images of Mithunas. Clear? Or in simple words, what we can say, you will see various erotic images. Erotic images you will witness. Now, what this erotic images or what this outside images signifies? This outside images signifies the connection between the outside material world and the inside spiritual world. So, this construction itself signifies that the physical or material world which is separated from the spiritual world, and salvation can be attained only when you visit inside. Spiritual supremacy, salvation can be attained inside the temple, and that is what the utmost reality. Clear? So that is what the basic characteristics of Nagar style of architecture. Now, when we go into detail of this Nagar style, there are certain subdivisions of this Nagar style as well. Clear? Now, what are these subdivisions? There are three subdivisions of Nagar style. First one is Latina. Latina style of temple architecture of Nagar category. Clear what happens in Latina? In Latina style, this is what we have discussed is Latina style. Curvy linear tower, where the tower or the shikhar tapers in a curvilinear line. That is what Latina style. Second is Famsana. Famsana style. Clear? The Famsana style, it will not be a curvilinear. What will happen? There will be various slabs. A slab-like structure will be there. In the tower, it will not be a continuous curvilinear lines. It will be a slab-like structure. Clear? That is what? Second type. And third type of tower is the Wallaby style. In this Wallaby style, it is called as vaulted chamber. Now, how this is being there? It is like this. Clear? So, it is a Wallaby style of architecture in Nagar category. Here, the base of the shikhar will be square. स्क्वायर बेस होगा और ऊपर जाते जाते ये या तो स्क्वायर रहेगा या सर्कल में कन्वर्ट हो जाएगा. क्लियर? एट द टॉप ईदर स्क्वायर और सर्कल. Here also it will be a square base, but here it will be a square top as well. But in Wallaby style, the base has to be rectangular. It will be a rectangular base only. Clear? So that is what the basic difference between Latina style, Famsana style or Wallaby style. Another difference between Latina and Famsana is here the base is narrow and here the base will be broad. A broad base, narrow base, Latina. Slabs in Famsana, curvilinear in Latina. So that is what the three different subcategories of Latina Nagar style. Number one, Latina. Number two, Famsana. And number three, Wallaby. Okay. Now we'll look into some examples of this Nagar style of architecture. Earliest example is Dasavatar Temple. Dasavatar Temple in Uttar Pradesh. Clear? That is what the earliest example of Nagar style of architecture. Clear? Another example is Khajuraho Temples. Clear? Now in Khajuraho Temples, what we see an additional quality. In Khajuraho Temple complex, along with the main shikhar, closely connected to it, there are multiple small shikhars which are connected. But the main shikhar remains the tallest. Clear? And when this multiple shikhars are connected or constructed within the same temple, this particular style is called as Uru Shring. The best example of this Urushring is Khajuraho Temple. Clear? Then another example of Nagar style of architecture is the Sun Temple at Modera in Gujarat. Now, this temple is being constructed at the Tropic of Cancer, which means at equinoxes. At equinoxes, the first ray of sun falls on the main deity. The construction of this temple is being done in such a way that at equinoxes, the first ray of sun falls on the main deity. And as the name suggests, the main deity will be God as sun. Clear? Along with this, in the Sun Temple of Modera, there is a water tank within the temple premises. A huge 100 square meter water tank is being constructed. So that is what the Sun Temple of Modera is another example of Nagar style. Then we also have Sun Temple, Konark on the eastern side, Odisha. Then Jagannath Temple in Puri. That is another example of Nagar style of architecture. So that is what all about Nagar style. We can discuss them in detail when the right time arrives. Okay, so that is what Nagar style of architecture. Now going into the second one, the Dravidian style. Dravidian style. Now, when it comes to this Dravidian style, it is very different from what we have discussed in Nagar. So, first and foremost thing, in Dravidian style, there is a more prominent structure which is called as Gopuram. Gopuram is the area around the temple. So, this is what we call Gopuram. So, for example, here is the temple, main temple. Clear? And this particular structure and this particular entrance, this is called a Gopuram. A enclosed area around the temple is being called as Gopuram. That is what the first and foremost characteristic of a Dravidian style of architecture, because they are having elaborate, and in some places we are having Gopuram bigger than the temple tower. Clear? So, first and foremost thing, that they are having a Gopuram. Second thing, when we call it Shikhar in North Indian style, it is called as Viman in Dravidian style. Clear? How it is called as Viman? Now, Sanctum Sanctorum or Grarbha Graha will remain the same. Okay? But above this, the tower, this tower is not curvilinear here. The tower is pyramidal in shape, like this. A stair-like structure is there in the Dravidian style. So what you can say, this Viman is clearly visible. Now, by seeing a tower of any particular temple, you can easily differentiate whether it is Nagar style or whether it is a Dravidian style. If it is a curvilinear, then it is Nagar style. If it is a pyramidal one, it is a Dravidian style. Okay, so that is what the most visible differentiation between a Nagar style of temple and a Dravidian style of temple. So it is called as Viman. We call Shikhar it in Nagar style. Above this Viman, there is a crowning element which is again a Kalash. Clear? Now this Kalash and all other crowning things like the flag, This particular thing is called as shikhar in Dravidian style. Clear? This is called as shikhar. So what we call in Nagar style as crowning element or kalash, we call it shikhar. Here, this is what we call shikhar. This is the viman, and this is what? The garbhagriha or the main sanctorum. Clear? Now, after this, there are mandap. Now, what is different between Nagar and Dravidian is that in Dravidian style, sometimes there is not only a mandap present, there is ardh mandap, clear, is also there, and another mandap, bhoj mandap is also there. So as the name suggests, mandap is for worship. Mandap, which is there in Nagar style as well, for worshipping the god. Then there is Ardha Mandap. Ardha Mandap. Now this Ardha Mandap is for performing certain rituals, certain ceremonies. That is why Ardha Mandap is there. Then there is this Bhog Mandap, where offerings can be made. Sometimes people are being fed in the temple premises. So for that reason, this is Bhog Mandap. So that is what different type of mandaps in the Dravidian style. And in front of this, there is another entry tower. There is an entrance tower, entrance gate, a very long elaborated gate, or sometimes which is having a height almost equal to the height of Viman. Clear? Sometimes it is even above the height of Viman and sometimes lower than Viman. And this particular entrance gate is the Gopuram. And this entrance gate is connected from boundary walls all other side. Clear? So that is what Gopuram. Another one feature which is there very prominent in the Dravidian style is that within the temple complex, now we will call it a temple complex, there is a water tank. A water tank. Water tank will always be there, which will not be visible in North Indian style, but in South Indian style, it will be clearly visible in almost every temple premises. Clear? So that is what the main features, important features of Dravidian style of architecture. This is what the main deity. Now sometimes in Dravidian style, what happens, along with the main deity, there are subsidiary deities as well. Sometimes they are being placed within that sanctum sanctorum, within the Garbhagriha, or sometimes they are being placed within the temple complex, which we call as Gopuram. So sometimes within Gopuram there is one temple. In one temple there are so many deities, main deity and subsidiary deity. Sometimes within the temple premises complex there are multiple temples having subsidiary deities. So that is what about the Dravidian style. Clear? So main features we have discussed. You can draw this as well in your notebook to clearly understand what is the difference. Clear? So that is what the Dravidian style. Now, when it comes to Dravidian style, we just like the Nagar style, we also see certain characteristics or evolution of the Dravidian style of architecture. Now, what is this evolution or what is this differentiation? That sometimes this Dravidian style of temples are being constructed in a square shape, sometimes in a rectangular shape, sometimes in elliptical shape, the platform I am talking about, sometimes in an octagonal shape, clear, and sometimes in a circular shape. So that is what the characteristic of or classification of Dravidian style of architecture, where on the basis of their construction they can be divided in various platforms. Clear? So this is what one thing. Now when it comes to evolution of Dravidian temples. So evolution of Dravidian temples started from the Pallav dynasty. Clear? Pallava dynasty was the first and foremost dynasties which contributed enormously in the Dravidian style of architecture. And the Pallava dynasty, it started from Mahendra Varman. Mahendra Varman. And during his time, the initial phase, rock cut temple is being constructed. Clear? After Mahendra Varman, it is the Narsimha Varman. Narsimha Varman style. Clear? The second one. Then the third one is Rajsimha style. During this time, it was rock cut structure. During Narsimha Varman time, it is rock cut plus structural. So standalone temples started being constructed during Narsimha Varman. The greatest example is the Shore Temple. Clear? Which is being constructed in the style of Rath. Clear? Then the third one is the Rasimha style, where a structural temple stand alone. We are not cutting a rock, we are creating a standalone structure now in the Rasimha style. So this is what the beginning of Dravidian style of architecture, which has been furthered by Cholas further in south. Clear? And during Chola regime, the temple architecture, particularly the Dravidian style of architecture, we can say reached its zenith. The greatest example of is the Brihadeshwar temple constructed by Raj Raj Chol. In which year? In 1010 AD. More than 1,000 years has been passed, but the temple stands strong. Clear? That is what we can say the prominency of Dravidian style of architecture, that during Chola Empire or during Chola dynasty, numerous temples has been constructed. Clear? After this Chola, the temple architecture has been moved forward by the third dynasty, the Pandyas. Clear? And the biggest example of Pandyan style of architecture or contribution in temple architecture is the Meenakshi Amman temple. Meenakshi Amman temple in Madurai. Clear? So that is what the evolution of Dravidian style of architecture. Now, The Nagar style completed, the Dravidian style completed. Now we will discuss about the third style of architecture, that is the Vasara style. Now, Vasar style does not have any significant feature of its own. Any such temple which have characteristics, mixed characteristics, like the characteristic having mandap, but the pyramid-like structure, clear? So that type of temple will be called as Vasar style of temple, which is prominent in the Deccan region. Clear? Deccan region. It is also there in Odisha. Clear? And what we can say, the greatest example of this mixed style of architecture is the Kailashnath temple at Ellora. This temple comprises of characteristics of Nagar style as well as the Dravidian style. Clear? So we can say this is one of the biggest example or greatest example of Vesar style of architecture. So that is what a brief discussion about the Nagar style, the Dravidian style, as well as the Vesar style. Examples of all the architectural experts or architectural remains you have to discuss, you have to read, because UPSC is going to ask question from this particular reason only. Now, when it comes to some summarizing of the topic, what UPSC will focus, either in mains or in your prelims, the difference between the Nagar and the Dravidian style. Clear? And what is the difference? Number one, here, curvilinear tower, which we call shikhar. Here, pyramidical tower. Clear? That is what the first and foremost difference. Second is that both are constructed on elevated platform, but here Gopuram is absent. We haven't seen Gopuram in Nagar style of architecture, but in Dravidian style, Gopuram is a prominent feature of temple complex. Clear? Third thing, water tank is very rare. Only in Sun Temple of Modera we have seen a water tank. But in Dravidian style, water tank is a prominent feature. Clear? Then the Gopuram completed, curvilinear tower completed. Clear? Shikhar and Amlak we have discussed, where it is called as Shikhar. In Dravidian style, it is called as Viman. Clear? 5. The crowning element. The crowning element is called as Kalash here. In Nagar style, it is called as Shikhar. Clear? That is what certain architectural differences. Now, moving forward, in Nagar style, what we have seen Mithunas, the erotic images. We have seen Dwarpal. We have seen river goddesses at the outer boundary. But in Dravidian style, there are fierce Dwarpal. Mithunas are not there. Clear? Then there are river goddesses as well. Clear? But Mithunas are here. It is absent here. Clear? So that is what the basic difference is between Nagar style and the Dravidian style. Clear? So now this is all about the temple architecture. Thank you so much. It's done. Excuse me?